I'm Ben from Ben's Antique Garden, and I make a lot of things, but I also make wreaths. Okay, I'm here at Ben's Antique Garden, and I'm preparing to put together a summer wreath, and I'm using some honeysuckle vine. Okay, I think I have more than I need just to touch up the wreath I'm working on now and then some. Okay, so these are wreath cores that are almost done. They are honeysuckle. They're completely dried, so you can't rewrap or reshape once you have it formed when they're fresh. Alright, before I begin, I'm going to show you a couple of the materials I'm using. The wreath core I picked out, it's a little wobbly, but that's not too bad because we can fix that with some of the bundles that we're going to put on. Okay, the first thing with these patriotic wreaths is you're going to want to start off with bundles, as this is probably the easiest way to get. Each bundle has a couple different ingredients, but I've chosen 3 different colors. Here's how I make the bundles. So I collect and source all different ingredients from the field, from the side of the road, and I use my trusty friend spray paint. And voila. To fasten things down and to tie your bundles and get your wreath in right shape, we're going to use a combination of just floral wire and the already prepared honeysuckle vine. It's good to have a pair of snips and possibly even some scissors hanging around. We're going to go ahead and start with this wreath core. Don't worry about any loose ends. Don't worry about any peeling. I know it's a little bit thin, but we're going to fix that too. Right, you can go with the grain or you can go against the grain. Oftentimes when I'm just putting in a couple of my bundles, I like to go opposite of the way I wove the wreath to begin with. So I've pushed it through a couple feet. The honeysuckle is a little bit more fragile than the grapevine. So I do like to use it in just kind of broad strokes. And then just try to find a place to tuck it in. Here there's a couple extra leaders, so I'm just going to let them find a natural place. They're going to be bent down in a minute. Notice how I'm keeping a hand or firm hold on one part of this as I go at all times. The main reason I'm doing this is to add extra girth. Up until now, I haven't used any type of wire to keep this rigid, stiff, and in circular form. Step 1, you want to have a good 6 feet of lead wire, and I just want to fasten this part to one part. The ring, looking for what's going to look best. It's going to be my top, this is going to be my bottom. So I'm going to take one of my bundles. This is going to be the top bundle, sweeping up the left side. Seems like it has a natural cradle here. I'm just going to try to find a home for the stem. I'm going to fasten it like that. Now I'm going to take one for the other side. I'm fixing the wire, it just snapped off. keeping these alternating bundles going, but I'm keeping this style really tight and bundled here at the base of the wreath. So I'm going to take one of these little piles and split it in half and cross over. This at the same time is also kind of covering up some of the wire you've been bailing around. Nice and tight. And then I'm going to take my final bundle. So I'm doing the same process. I'm splitting my last bundle in half. Put on a few of those little stragglers. And this could be the time where you try to figure out if it's going to be a little heavier on one side or if it's not, or if it's a little bit more even. And maybe it's just how you set it on your door, or even on your wall, or on your friend's door, or on your friend's neighbor's wall. Wreath club is a great gift. So I'm about to finish this style up. Notice I only have about a foot left of my wire, and we've gotten the bundle down so small that we only have a little area left to cover up. This is where I'll just take what's on top of the wire and make myself a little loop, but still following along the same path, back under and come back around and wrap around that loop. You can go through it if you want, and then you can do 7 Boy Scout knots and a twisty turnover thing until you're sure it's not going anywhere. Okay, so this is what we have, and now it's time to put a couple of the finishing touches on. I still want a little untarnished and natural activity right here in the center. So I'm going to take some of these nice wheat. Okay, so I'm just going to take some of these little tiny wheat tassels, kind of stick them in, always pointing right down there into the middle. Get a couple sticking out random. So I'm adding a couple of these grasses I found growing wild in a flower bed. I think it's a sedge. It has a really interesting star seed pod. So I took a couple of these star seed grass nut sedge thingies and I'm sticking them in. Now that we're finished, our goal is to cover up this last place. You can cover up the wire with a bow, or you can just pick something out of the garden that's just going to dry and conceal it. So these are some of the options from our summer line. The most important thing is just to cover up the wire. I chose to cover up the wire using some dried red clover.